UFC has been lighting up London, England.
Got it! He's done it! What a moment for Thomas Bell!
Where British superstars shine bright.
Meatball Molly gets another win in London!
For the raucous UK faithful.
It is a carnival atmosphere here in London. Here we go! This could be it! The O2 loves them. Some Paddy the Baddy Pimblets.
But at UFC 286 at the O2 Arena, the MMA leader will return with the biggest fight in UK history. The welterweight rubber match between former King Kamaru Usman
The people all want to know how are you going to get it done.
and homegrown champion Leon Edwards.
I am ready. I truly believe this is my time.
Please welcome the reigning UFC welterweight champion, Leon "Rocky" Edwards.
Defending my strap back in London, back on my home turf. My prediction is victory.
Let's go fight.
After meeting first as young upstarts,
The pressure in the grappling of Usman is causing Edwards to fade.
then again as the best 170-pound fighters on earth.
Big shots from Usman. His pressure is starting to wear on Leon. This is do or die for Leon Edwards. He may have resigned himself to losing a decision.
They stand at 1-1, with Usman now seeking revenge.
It's a game-winning shot.
The way he pulled that out of the fire.
The Hail Mary
We wrote his obituary.
changed the whole course of his career.
Down to me, I couldn't do it. Look at me now. Pound for pound. Headshot done.
But we made those adjustments and I come to win.
I can't imagine what's going through his mind. To be the top of the sport and the champion who had been dominating guys like Jorge Masvidal, Kobe Covington,
Usman with a huge shot.
Gilbert Burns.
18 in a row.
But one kick changed the world.
It's beautiful.
Now we know Leon can beat Kamaru Usman.
He has power, moves exceedingly well.
Leon Edwards is pouring on the pressure. His confidence, his composure.
Oh my goodness, the build-up to this third meeting.
My God, it's going to be the biggest fight ever.
Hanging all
ready?
the time, waiting for the sign.
In the main event of UFC 286,
When the bell will toll, hanging
Edwards and
by
Usman will
wire,
settle the score
like a bird on fire.
in a fight to crown the world's greatest welterweight once and for all.
I'm built like this. I'll go to the bell's done. That's it.
When the rain falls and the
The co-main event will be an electrifying clash of knockout artists who own a combined 15 fight night bonuses.
It's one of the reasons why he's one of the most loved fighters in the sport.
As former interim lightweight champ Justin Gaethje
Everything you got.
to the
He throws himself into the fire.
faces decorated Muay Thai finisher Rafael Fiziev.
He speaks the language of violence. My goodness.
Don't forget, not only striking, bro. Sometimes just a true brother.
But before the octagon returns to London, England, first,
These are league regulation balls, Justin.
get ready
Wide and strong.
for UFC 286.
Go!
Good. It was very good. I can't even see it coming.
Countdown. The story of the UFC 286 main event begins on a December night in Orlando, Florida, 2015.
Leon Edwards is a very fast-handed striker, and he has a lot of confidence.
And a promising Brit from Birmingham, Leon Edwards,
I couldn't agree more because Edwards throws very clean technical strikes.
That's it, one and done for Leon "Rocky" Edwards.
met the newly crowned Ultimate Fighter winner,
Usman may be able to finish this.
That's it.
Kamaru Usman.
We're looking at two clear mixed martial artists, but we're really looking at a striking-centered guy versus a grappling-centered guy. I'm very impressed here with Leon Edwards' movement and striking. Usman immediately in. Oh, left by Usman. Good straight left by Edwards. He's looking real smooth and relaxed on his feet. And Usman again with the clinch. Let's see if he can gets it this time. The pressure and the grappling of Usman is causing Edwards to fade.
I've been fighting since 2012.
2, 1, and go.
Since deciding to walk away from my amateur wrestling career. You know, from wrestling, it was just natural progression. It's like, what can I do?
Let's go, stay fast, come on.
That I can utilize this skill that I've worked on for the last 15 years.
Time.
And my UFC career was born.
Wow, big slam there from Usman.
Kamaru Usman was a sensational wrestler.
Oh, huge right hands for Usman.
And really developing into an excellent striker as well.
Oh, the ice is down and out.
You've had good wrestlers before. You've had good boxers before. You've had good grapplers before. But I'm a hybrid.
This is one fluid welterweight.
I'm a mix of all of those to be able to box, wrestle, grapple.
Oh, big uppercut. He's in trouble here. Oh!
And do it in championship rounds for 25 minutes without slowing down. That's what sets me apart from the rest.
Following his early career victory over Leon Edwards.
Oh! There's a knockdown for Kamaru Usman. That's it. And still.
Kamaru Usman would assemble one of the greatest welterweight runs in the sport's history.
What Kamaru Usman represents is one of the most exceptional fighters you've ever seen inside the octagon.
Oh, huge right.
Oh my goodness.
And there is a new record holder for the longest winning streak in UFC welterweight history.
Extending his win streak to 19 straight. Defending the title 5 times.
He's clearly the best welterweight alive, and the argument of the best welterweight of all time starts to happen.
Until being hailed by many as the pound-for-pound best fighter on the planet.
At the end of the day, I come to win. Every fight, I come to win.
It's incredible. I think legend is a word that we now need to start painting.
While Usman rose to iconic status, Leon Edwards went back to the drawing board.
I was hate losing. I remember feeling that loss, thinking I never want to feel like this again, you know, and I just came back to the UK. Focus on what I need to do, you know. Set my team up how I needed it to be set up, and I knew eventually that we'll meet again.
For Edwards, assembling the right team meant keeping his longtime head coach, Dave Lavelle, at the helm.
Yeah, okay, let's go short.
The man who knows Rocky best.
Leon came from the streets like all of us. Born in Jamaica, and a little bit of a rough upbringing while he was in Jamaica. Came to England and it wasn't much better, really. He had to fight to get respect. He had to fight to let people know they couldn't take the piss with him. He's got a very strong mind. He knows where he wants to go in life. He knows what he wants to achieve. You know, we're just there to aid him along that path.
I see Dave as like a father figure, you know. He's been around me now for a long time. He knows how good I am, he sees how good I am in the gym and what I can do, you know, so to have someone like that in the corner, it's always a blessing, you know.
Edwards showing how well-rounded his game has become. Very good striker naturally, but his wrestling.
Clearly learned some valuable lessons his last time out.
This is tight, he can have it.
Against Kamaru Usman.
Oh, that's a huge body shot. Goodness. And Leon Edwards' fast counter-striking is a danger to anybody.
I've got my own little way out to, you know, boost him up.
Yeah, man. Let's go.
Give him that confidence and that belief.
And here come the hammers of Leon Edwards.
As street boys, they've got the same mentality. 3 in the bank now, son.
Let's not let this back into this fight.
Leon Edwards is pouring under pressure.
With Lavelle by his side, Leon Edwards clawed his way back.
Work that rocket, work that jump. Yeah! Keep him there, right there. That's it. Keep touching it, yeah!
Until the Birmingham Rising Star would eventually earn a shot at revenge.
Look at Nate, looking like a horror movie.
Let them know you're on this thing. Let them know you're on this thing.
Against the the last man to defeat him.
We're going to game plan, we're going to prepare, we're going to come out there and put on another spectacular performance.
Anywhere the fight goes, I'll be in you.
Has come so far to be able to travel this journey right next to Kamaru Usman while not receiving the recognition. They always say, when you're a lion, there's another lion in the dark that's working just as hard as you, but maybe just not eating as much as you. It is his time now to collect. He has been watching Usman the whole time, getting better, preparing himself for the time that they fought again. We are now on the verge of fight number 2 between these two fantastic martial artists.
Enter the most dominant force in the game at present, UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman, and once again, he's got a point to prove here against Leon Edwards.
We're gonna keep it clean, touch gloves, let's do it.
No touch. First matchup in UFC history of fighters with an unbeaten streak of 10 or more fights.
Ready, let's fight.
I went in there with more of attacking mind state compared to the first fight.
Good early attack by Edwards to that lead leg.
Round 1, I ended up getting a takedown.
And we saw this in fight number 1. Edwards did a good job.
Oh
my
in
goodness.
the full mount.
First time Usman has been grounded in his UFC career.
Taking his back and threatening with submissions.
Leon's trying to get under that chin. Oh, this is nasty.
Wow.
Fight the head. Huge first round for the challenger.
Then from there, he pretty much won from 2 to 4.
Be sharp. Thank you. We stay sharp. Big shots from Usman.
Wow.
Oh, nice uppercut from the champion.
His pressure is starting to wear on Leon. That is all that experience, these high-level moments. He's going to have to match Usman tonight if he wants to win this title.
But we must remember, this is not normal for Leon.
No.
This is normal for Usman. This is his comfort zone.
Yes.
He's grinding wrestling exchanges.
Dominant third round for the champ, Kamaru Usman.
Big shots from the champ.
Body shot for Usman now.
Oh.
Edwards covers up, and now
Kamaru's
uppercut and
all over
elbow. 20 minutes down, 5 to go.
A dejected challenger.
Yes.
I knew I was down on the scorecards. You know, I think that's the speech that Dave gave me to, like, wake me up.
Listen, stop feeling sorry for your self. Well, come on then. What's wrong with you? You're too down. You gotta pull it out of the fire. Come on, Leon, man. You got it, man. Come on. You got this.
Just refocused me, that speech did. Calming me down and sort of, like, put me in that mind state to go out there and handle it.
Let's go, baby. Here we go.
Let's go.
Enjoy this.
All right, 5th and final round. We'll see what Edwards has left.
This is do or die for Leon Edwards. He's got to do something big. He's got to do something really big.
If it wasn't obvious enough, Leon right now is broken. And he's embarrassed right now of his own performance.
When that final bell rings, Usman's going to win. You got to empty the gas tank here.
Yeah.
You know, he's a minute and a half from losing this championship fight. So you leave it all out there. It does not matter how this fight ends.
I needed to go out there and get the finish, you know, and that's what I did.
Cross kick, Leon.
He may have resigned himself to losing a decision.
But that is not the cloth from which he is cut.
Cross head kick.
Undisputed welterweight champion. The belt headed to the UK.
Oh my God.
Leon Rocky Edwards, your new welterweight champion.
Oh my goodness! The way he pulled that out of the fire!
He actually pulled victory from the jaws of defeat.
We thought he was dejected and defeated, and he head kicked Kamaru Usman into the shadow realm.
He wrote his obituary.
No, down to me, so I couldn't do it. No, I said I couldn't do it. Look at me now. Pound for pound. Headshot down.
Felt good. It was a long time coming.
I'm built like this. I go to the pound's done. That's it. I'm on the trenches. I've been dying my whole lifestyle. Look at me now. Look at me now.
Becoming champion and getting revenge on the last guy to beat me. It's just the perfect ending.
I told you it's possible. We
We can win a belt from the UK. I told you. Now look at me now. Look at me now. I told you I could do it. I told you. Look at me now. Strap season. We got it, baby.
You did it, Leon. You accomplished one of the most difficult things in all combat sports against the best guy in the world. Congratulations. The champion of the world, ladies and gentlemen, Leon Edwards.
When Leon Edwards avenged his loss to Kamaru Usman
Undisputed welterweight champ.
in August of 2022,
The belt headed to the UK.
it earned him the welterweight belt he so painstakingly coveted.
We can win a belt from the UK. I told you. Now look at me now.
And even after a heartfelt ode to the UK,
Pound for pound. Headshot dead.
Rocky had plenty of emotions left for the one who matters to him most.
Mommy, we shake up the world. Mom, I told you I'd change my life. I told you, Mom. I told you I'd do it.
My mother was the reason why I got involved in mixed martial arts. There was a gym getting built in my area, and she suggested me joining the gym, because I was getting into trouble. I did it for her, gave it a go, and just the more I was in the gym, the more I fell in love with it.
This is not Leon. Leon, come on! And where we come from, we don't break easily. And that's the bell.
How special is this win for you and your family?
I've changed our life, just for this one moment and what I've worked hard for, and to have achieved it. It means everything to me.
My mum, I've managed to, since winning the title, to open her a Jamaican restaurant. From the time I can remember from a kid, I remember her saying that she wanted to be in that business, for us opening a takeaway restaurant. She's excited, it's going well and picking up slowly, but it's going very well.
Real Jamaican jerk chicken, you see?
Mom!
Welcome to Sweet Kitchen Day.
Yes, babe, all right.
How is it? You like it?
Yeah, man, like it. Leon, tell me enough about it still.
In it.
Yeah,
Him come here, come share food couple times.
Sometimes when I sit back and just think about the journey I've took, it's like two different lives.
Yeah, David,
Bed soup?
the soup, let me try
Yes,
it.
dear. You ever pass it now?
God bless
You ever
you.
double the cup so
All
you
right,
don't
mommy.
get burned?
All right,
Let me get
thank
you a spoon.
Thank you.
To be born in poverty in Jamaica, to now becoming a UFC welterweight champion is,
So nice, man.
it's like a movie. The area we grew up in Kingston, Jamaica, was a lot of crimes. It wasn't a safe environment for a child to grow up.
Trying new skills.
My dad was involved in gangs and stuff like that. From there, he immigrated to the UK for a better life.
Road.
Through my dad being involved in gangs and drugs.
Sweet Kitchen oxtail.
Wow, all right.
That was the cause of his death. He got murdered when I was 13 years old.
Who's champion of the world? Who's champion of the world? All right. Your big brother champion of the world.
My mum took over both roles, playing mother and father.
Headshot dead!
Headshot dead!
She was the one that provided the life to help her kids,
Well, I'm going in there, Mum, so
Which way you go, gym?
back to training, yeah.
hardships make tougher men, and I think what I went through from a child to what I am now, I think that's what gave me the mentality of never giving up.
See
you later, man.
Yeah, take care, dear.
All right, folks.
Yeah, man, big up.
All right, fine.
Financial backing for his family that pays homage to his roots is a novel satisfaction for Edwards. But for the former king, investments in the homeland have been ongoing.
You can't do what you love to do, which is stand and strike, if you can't take your seat like kids, if you can't defend us.
And Kamaru Usman's business ventures in Nigeria are well underway.
Doing what you do, the fans will love it. The UFC has been talking for a long time about doing an event in Africa. One of the biggest things that I've heard is there's no infrastructure there for them to easily move in and do a show. So that's exactly what I've taken upon myself to do. Creating the groundwork to where they can look back and say, hey, there's already a show running there.
You know, we're slowly building, and we want to continue to build.
Myself and two of my partners, we've been setting up the infrastructure to have our own mixed martial arts organization in Nigeria called AKO, African Knockout. It just shows how big the sport of mixed martial arts is.
We've got bigger and better things coming in 2023.
And how thirsty they are for the opportunity. Each and every time I'm back in Nigeria, I discover something more wonderful about the place.
This is for you.
With the AKO show and with, you know, some of the charity work and everything that I'm doing there, I'm falling in love again with that country. Like most countries all around the world, there's great parts and then there's not so great parts. But if we do our parts as humans, that's the best thing that we can do is just give back a little bit.
With the rubber match against Edwards now booked for UFC 286 in London, England, Usman returns to Colorado for the first training camp in years as a contender, which offers the former champ and head coach Trevor Whitman a renewed sense of focus.
When you're a champion, there's just a lot of noise associated with that. You're pulled in this direction and that direction. And it was almost a sense of relief to just quiet all of that down.
Great job. Wow. You never talk about how you fall, it's how you get up. You got 1-2 on this side. Okay, a quick roll, right back to position, back to a 1-2. And I think he did a really good job of facing himself in the mirror and understanding the true outcome of the fight. Cross, that's beautiful, yep. And again, left hand up, pop, pop, yes. Bang, 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 it's beautiful. Boom, 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 up. I love it again. You know, whether we win a fight or we lose a fight, we're just evolving. Yep, good. Way to use the leg. And he's going to come out here and do what he does.
Wow. I will whoop guys with or without the belt.
Good work. 40 seconds.
I'm still the same guy. I'm still trained with the same intensity.
You know what they call that? A jab. Bang, bang, do it again.
I still have that championship mindset, and it's going to show.
Great job, yes, oh, it's a wonderful combo.
Former welterweight champion Kamaru Usman is deep into UFC 286 training camp, which for the 6th time in a row is taking place in the Rockies.
Kneeling rotation, so inside knee is up.
A mile-high relocation that eliminates distraction.
Lateral lunge.
But in doing so, has become bittersweet.
I'm here again training in Denver, Colorado, away from my daughter. I got a call from her. She said, "Daddy, there's this thing that we have to sign up for. It's daddy and daughter dance."
Please keep your seatbelt fastened whenever you're seated, even when the seatbelt sign is off.
I was just great for me to kind of snap me back to I am a father. I am a person outside of just training to go be a killer inside that octagon.
You ready? Why are you looking at my juice?
You're looking at my juice.
Nah, I don't want your juice. I picked my juice.
Go ahead, Samira, you want to try? Go ahead, knees up.
Got it.
Good, arms up, knees in front. Whoa.
It's a little tougher now because you start to really see.
Got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
The time missed. You start to notice that they change in a way to where you're like, oh, that's new.
Give me some.
They weren't saying those before, and they weren't doing this before, so when I'm there, I try to be as present as possible.
Kamaru Usman, the soon-to-be new UFC welterweight champion.
Incredible.
This was the first time Kamaru Usman's daughter had seen him fight live, and certainly picked a good fight to have her here for.
She reminds me that everything's gonna be okay.
I never dreamed that I would be on this stage, and when this little girl came along, she lit a fire under me, Joe. And here I am, baby. Here I am, Daddy did it.
Doesn't matter how bad of a day you had at work. Doesn't matter how bad I got beat up.
Oh my goodness, what a fight!
It doesn't matter if I lose a fight.
And the chin on Usman is something else.
When I come back, I'm still daddy in her eyes.
Usman's efforts to increase the presence of family are worthwhile. As he prepares to enter enemy territory at UFC 286. The trilogy bout with Edwards will take place in the champion's home nation.
Did a lot of media around the upcoming fight. My homecoming.
But the UK faithful are still celebrating the upset win from last year's rematch.
Please welcome the reigning UFC welterweight champion, Leon "Rocky" Edwards. It's been, what, like 6 months since you've been leading that champ life?
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Tell us the top line. Like, what's really good about wearing the belt?
For the first, like, 2-3 weeks, it's like a surreal moment. I left like the belt on my dining table in my house, and it's been a long road to get there, and I'm happy to be leading the charge for UK MMA.
I do have something over here, I think. Leon.
Oh, I'm waiting for this. It should be
You got this. Now, this is a real privilege for me, my friend. This is your UFC Honours Award for Comeback of the Year 2022, Leon Edwards.
Thank you, thank you.
Congratulations.
One of his habits was leaning too big into his left or his right, you know, and I was able to take advantage of that.
Jab, parry, jab.
This is a technique that I've trained for the whole camp for Usman, you know, so I knew it was going to land eventually.
The left kick is obviously one of his main weapons, and we draw that all the time. So it wasn't a fluke.
He starts dipping his head away. That's when we're looking for the head kick. That's it. That's the one. Good. And that's when I reckon he'll circle out a bit as well.
But he's also clever enough and smart enough to have set it up. You can't just throw a kick and expect it to land, so all the work and the timing and everything we put into that, it paid off.
I fought him twice, so I got a feeling of what he's good at.
Yep.
He's improved as far as his striking goes. But I don't think he is as good as what he thinks he is.
Outstruck him in both fights.
Usman really putting the pressure on him now.
You know, out-grappled him in both fights.
Kamaru's all over him.
You know, out-wrestled him in both fights.
His pressure is starting to wear on Leon.
I just think I'm a bit better at everything that he does well. He's a good, talented striker, and he broke through. I acknowledge it. I accept it. I'm gonna clean up those mistakes, and I'll be back.
You're looking at a legend right there.
Has truly been spectacular.
He is a mental giant, physical skills off the charts.
If I'm done my homework.
He's got a point to prove against Leon Edwards.
I'm gonna go in there and make it look easy.
Leon Edwards is so well-rounded. Everything is world class.
I know I can take him down. I know I can knock him out. I know I can hurt him.
Leon Rocky Edwards.
I'm going in there to outclass him, outmaster him, and show the world that I am the new dog on the block.
In UFC 286 in London, England, it's Edwards and Usman. One final time to undisputedly crown the world's greatest at 170 pounds.
I was calling to see how he comes over and take the belt away from me, you know, not back home in London. So it's gonna be a good night.
UFC 286, I'll be victorious.
As former UFC welterweight champion Kamaru Usman prepares to face title holder Leon Edwards at UFC 286. He makes time for mental breaks from the grind of training camp, which in Denver, Colorado, take place with his friend and teammate, Justin Gaethje.
We're down here at the Hangar 101 Bar and Grill. Good to bring Kamaru and some of my teammates, a couple of my coaches down here and try to take their money. We're playing 5 frames, $50.
Justin loves to gamble. He wanted to see who was a better bowler. I told him I bowled in college. I took the class. He didn't want to believe me, so we're here so I can show him up.
No, I missed! No! Money!
See, these are league regulation balls, Justin. See, that's why he brought us here.
We're just gonna drill today. We're gonna pick up the intensity as we go.
Being around Kamaru, being so similar in our belief, in our virtues, in our values, it reminds me of wrestling as a kid. Individual sport, but knowing that you need to inspire your teammates to perform and ultimately winning for them, you know, is something that's very similar in this situation.
Like Usman, former interim lightweight champ Justin Gaethje is preparing to fight at UFC 286. We will compete in the UFC 286 co-main event before Usman makes the walk to the night's headliner.
Create that muscle.
An experienced pair is shared no further.
Being on the same card is always a benefit.
Justin Gaethje, obviously there's a big grudge match for your teammate in the main event.
Having both guys go through that process, the fear of knowing that you're fighting in 4 days, 3 days, 2 days, there's definitely huge benefit from a mindset aspect.
Trevor living 3-0 tonight. Hats off to that wizard because he is an amazing coach.
I'm looking forward to going out there and having a great night with both guys.
This dude is tremendous. He is all action.
Head coach Trevor Whitman has guided numerous UFC champions.
He's one of the most ferocious guys in the sport. He throws himself into the fire.
But none quite like Justin Gaethje, who is most aptly known as the Highlight.
Justin hurt him.
Justin Gaethje is the ball of fire.
I'm the most exciting fighter that's ever stepped in that cage.
What a knockout! Oh, he got him!
Justin Gaethje is fearless. When you let him go, he just destroys everything in his path.
No chances, Barboza out cold!
I pride myself in giving every person in attendance their money's worth.
Have you ever seen anything like Justin Gaethje?
That's what I do, it's who I am.
Oh, man. He's a real freak.
9 bonuses in my first 7 fights. That will never be touched.
Never been part of a boring fight in his entire life.
I think it's because of my effort. You know, humans recognize effort. I've said that since day one, and I give max effort.
Gaethje's return to action will come at UFC 286 in London, England, against lightweight rising star Rafael Fiziev, a like-minded finisher from the heart of Asia.
I born in Kazakhstan. I grew up in a village, and I helped to my father shepherd the cows and bulls. We moved from the village to big city, to capital city in Kyrgyzstan. First day when I come into school, some of my classmates, they beat me. After 1 week, I start to train Thai boxing because somebody beat me. I wanna give him back.
In the black, Collimore in the white with black trim. Fiziev throwing big shots. The uppercut there, very dangerous.
My first Kyrgyzstan championship, just after 2 months when I start training, and I take second place, silver medal.
Big punches from the man from Kyrgyzstan.
2007 World Championship, third place. 2009 World Championship, second place.
Out goes the left hand. Vicious power there from Fiziev.
2011 World Championship, third place.
Skills of Fiziev are just unbelievable. This guy is so slippery.
And I think like I want to start my professional career.
Still slinging leather to the last bell.
And I go into Thailand. Thailand is very easy going. Very easy to make visa to Thailand. No need a lot of money. And I know like they have good gyms, good fighters. It's perfect.
Fiziev is making his UFC debut. He's a strong guy, explosive striking with grappling to match.
Following hundreds of Muay Thai bouts across Europe and Asia, Fiziev would transition to MMA.
He is one of several debuting fighters on our card.
Fiziev has over 200 amateur Muay Thai fights. He's a multiple national and international Muay Thai champion. Add to that some combat sambo as well.
For being a Muay Thai guy, his hands are sharp. He throws power in every punch that he lands.
Transferring knockout power in the ring.
He is 6-0 professionally.
This is a big prospect that we're going to be watching here tonight.
To electrifying performances in the octagon.
Oh, massive hands there from Fiziev. Oh, he is airborne when he's throwing those knees as well.
The sky really is the ceiling. I see this man as a future contender pretty quickly. Look at that. Big
There
dinner
he
fight.
is. It's Neo from the Matrix again.
Gunshot when he hits that body shot.
Fiziev is for real.
In UFC, my focus is on the belt.
I mean, come on. This guy is nasty.
But I want when people watch my fights, they really enjoy it.
Fiziev is having fun in there tonight.
I can fight like aggressive, going forward.
He speaks the language of violence, which is universal. My goodness. Oh, got him there.
To make firework, you know, like crazy. But I'm happy for this fight against Justin because I don't worry about bonuses now.
He's so fun, he's so physical, he's so gifted. It's controlled chaos.
I know Justin won bonuses also. He's like the bonuses.
It's one of the reasons why he's one of the most loved fighters in the sport.
And for sure we're coming for this. You have to see that. Can't blink.
This will deliver, I guarantee.
Kazakhstan-born UFC lightweight Rafael Fiziev appreciates a comfortable life with his family in Phuket, Thailand. Brought on by dedication to his craft and the early teachings of his father.
This funny story about my father. He worked in the city.
А, батька, садись на место, все, бери свой блинчик.
When he come back, He called all cousins, all brothers to fight boxing. Salam alaikum, Pap.
Разговор, смотри, Балам, вот этого барана я Курбан говорю, саламат, пускай бой пройдет.
And he gave first place 500, second place 200, third place like 100. And we fight for this money. If I win this fight against Justin, he cut this ship and give the meat for poor people.
Все будет хорошо, Аллах выйдешь и сделаешь, что ты хочешь сделать.
Inshallah, inshallah. Now he called me and said, hey, you know this bonus? Send me this. That's it. You don't ask why, what. No. My wife and my kids, they spend my money. And when they spend my money, I have to go to gym and train hard for make it money more.
Some people say, you're not scary. I say, yes, I'm scary, but that's Rafael work.
This motivated me. She understands. She have to spend money, and she understands how need make this money. And this has helped me in my career also.
Financial incentives have always been top of mind for Fiziev, especially during his earliest days in Thailand, when injury prevented the aspiring fighter from earning a living.
I broke my hand in a fight, and I'm very sad because no money. I need a fight. Like I need to make money. My friend Syed, my manager, he work in Tiger Muay Thai, and he tell me like, hey, if you want like a job, you can come into Tiger.
5 years ago, there was an opening for the kickboxing coach position here in Tiger Muay Thai. And Rafael was perfect for it, with his experience, with his knowledge. So it was a perfect match for Tiger and for Rafael. One thing that we have in Tiger is a lot of high-level pro fighters, so there's no shortage of good training partners who can imitate Justin.
Tiger Muay Thai, if you need a wrestler, you find it. If you need a boxer, you find it. If you need a guy like Justin, I have 20 people here.
A UFC 286 showdown with former interim champion Justin Gaethje looms large for Rafael Fiziev. And the established Tiger Muay Thai product is ready to seize his moment.
I'm better than Gaethje everywhere. Striking.
Justin, I appreciate you every fight with me, bro.
In the ground.
But don't forget, not only striking, bro. Sometimes wrestling too, bro. Yeah? Yeah, don't forget, bro.
I'm better than everybody in this division. I win, he's lost. That's it.
A prize fighter finds motivation in many things, but the greatest purpose for most is to one day own an undisputed UFC championship belt. For Justin Gaethje, being so close to realizing that dream is what keeps him coming back.
All right, 3 jumps. I fought for the title 3 out of my last 4 fights.
You cannot be reckless with a guy that has dynamite in his hands like Gaethje.
Oh, nice body shot to left hook up top from Gaethje.
Oh, beautiful takedown by Nurmagomedov. He gets the back.
Wow. Unbelievable. Just too good, man. Too good.
Oh, my goodness.
An uppercut now for Gaethje. Knocks Oliveira down.
Oh! This cat right here is a savage.
Heart. He believes he has heart. He believes he has always had it.
Here's the real question. What's next?
And when you lose a title fight, you know, you usually need to win 2 or 3 to fight for the championship.
He is leaner, he is stronger, he is more focused than ever before.
Still stick your chest out here on this side.
And now when they hear Justin Gaethje's fighting, they will tune in.
For me, I need 1 or 2 exciting wins, like I always get. I'm exciting as hell, so why not?
People love a fight. I get it. He wants to go out on his shield, but the reason he lost was because he was having way too much fun.
Ultimately, going into a fight, trying to avoid their strongest asset is not when I perform the best.
Everything you got, every punch. He was just about excitement and fighting for the people. Good. Now it's about him. It's about being focused and winning rounds. He's got to be dead focused because that's the key to being the best in the world. Go! Good. Go! Go! And one more. Go! Wonderful. That last turnover was really nice too. These shots that like people should see coming for a day, and you still land it. They'll get a text message. They'll be like, "Oh, the right hand's coming."
The road to another title shot now goes to the latest lightweight sensation at UFC 286. And Gaethje aims to fight fire with fire against Rafael Fiziev.
These guys are young and hungry, and that's a dangerous combination. And I need to punch him in the face a lot. Keep him from taking me down. I gotta go out there, be perfect, you know, be athletic, be agile, hostile, and him up.
Justin, he's tough. This is challenge, and I like challenges. But stay front of me, this is too dangerous for him.
The lightweight belt is within reach for both men in the co-main event of UFC 286, where knockout artists set the stage in London, England. For the highly anticipated rubber match.
The build-up to this third meeting between these two as Kamaru Usman rebuilds.
It's going to be the biggest fight ever.
Between homegrown welterweight champ Leon Edwards